If I found what I suspected to be human bodies on my property, the area would be taped off and police investigators would methodically excavate to determine if there are indeed bodies, how many bodies are there, and then try and determine why and how the bodies ended up there. I couldn't tell the police, hey, I found some burial mounds on my land and I have some neighbors who assure me they contain the remains of murdered children. I just want to see, though, apologies from those accused of killing these children and compensation for those potentially related to those children. Aside from that, though, I don't want you on my land and those mounds must remain untouched. The scenario I read just sounds absurd, but that's exactly what's happened with the Kamloops residential school issue. It's been 14 months since ground-penetrating radar identified anomalies in what was once an apple orchard next to an Indian residential school in Kamloops. There's no evidence, aside from the GPR anomalies, of graves being in that location, aside from anecdotes from people who attended the school decades ago. There's no record of missing children, no families identified who lost children during the period of alleged burials, no attestations of burials from the many Indigenous people who were actually employed at the school at that time. It's all based on stories that children told each other of secret nighttime burials happening in an orchard over 60 years ago. I worked with ground penetrating radar when I worked in the Arctic. I spent 4 years up there. We used it to determine ice thicknesses on the Beaufort Sea so we could safely travel on it. And for that application, GPR is fabulously accurate. What GPR does is it records differences in density. Water and ice have distinctly different densities, and the GPR can easily determine ice thicknesses. That said, we didn't rely 100% on our GPR data. We had protocols requiring regular measurements of the ice thickness with an auger and a long measuring rod to ensure the accuracy of the GPR survey, and we'd have to calibrate it at times. That's it, though. It doesn't provide snapshots below that. It doesn't give a 3D image of what's going on underground or underwater. It can only tell you that there have been changes in density. For graves, GPR could work well. A hole that's dug and filled in even decades ago could show distinctly on a GPR survey. The thing is, though, many other things can look the same way. An old trench for irrigation would show up as an anomaly every time the GPR passed over it. An old shed site, or even outhouse sites, or pathways where the ground got impacted could present as anomalies. Old root beds from former apple trees would look much like burial sites, for an example, as well. Our nation was turned upside down over the anomalies registered on a GPR unit. Our flags were kept at half-mast for nearly 6 months. Churches were burned, apologies were offered, and billions more in settlements are pending. Why on earth are we not verifying the data from the GPR survey yet? As far as can be seen, not a teaspoon worth of dirt has been moved to try and determine what happened. Hey, maybe there are remains of hundreds of children who vanished and they're secretly been buried by residential school workers. In that case, though, I want to see the bodies exhumed and a criminal investigation carried out. Maybe there's hundreds of bodies of Spanish explorers down there, and it was a valuable archaeological site. Or maybe there's not a single body in the area, and we need to re-examine just how much weight we're going to give to anecdotal oral history on serious matters. Until a true forensic investigation is done, we're left with nothing but speculation. If such a crime has happened, wouldn't the relations of the victims be eager to get a full picture, find the facts, and of course pursue those responsible? Why are we waiting on this? And I fear the answer may come down to money, as so many things do. The mystery is a lot more lucrative than the reality might be. There are a lot of people making a whole lot of money from the residential school issue, and they don't want it to go away. That pipeline of cash would come to a halt if it was determined there was never actually a mass murder of children. It's time to start digging, because this is too serious to keep putting things off.